You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Hey, everybody. Hello to all my brilliant viewers. We've gotten a new trailer for the upcoming She-Hulk Attorney at Law. We know which Lee Child's novel was going to be adapted for Reacher Season 2. Word is that Stan Lee cameos will be coming back to the MCU. And I'll explain who the blonde lady at the end of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is, and how she changes the future for the good doctor. All on today's Dan Wickline Show, so stay tuned. All right, everybody, welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Today, we've got a few bits of news. We're going to take a look at the new trailer for the She-Hulk Attorney at Law series, and I'm going to give you a breakdown on who exactly Clea is and what she might mean going forward for Doctor Strange. The first bit of news comes from Alan Ritchson himself. Alan has been in the news lately, not only from his success as Reacher, or as Jack Reacher in the Reacher series on Amazon Prime. He also plays Hawk on the Titans, and he played the original Aquaman on Smallville. So he's got genre props, and he just recently signed on to the next Fast and the Furious movie. But he posted today a picture of himself holding up the 11th book in Lee Child's series of Jack Reacher novels called Bad Luck and Trouble. Now, this is pretty interesting because the novel kicks off with Reacher receiving a strange deposit into his account. Now, if you watch the series or watch the show or read the books, you know that Reacher basically walks around with nothing. Clothes on his back, his ATM card, and his passport. He doesn't have anything else. He doesn't drive, so he doesn't need his driver's license. That kind of thing. He doesn't even have a phone. So this was basically a way to reach out to him. The deposit of $1,030 works out to be an actual coded message. It's military code 1030 for urgent help needed, which is really interesting because 1030 as a police code means unnecessary use of radio. Very different. Now, it turns out the deposit is from Frances Neagley, who we meet in season 1 of Reacher, which is interesting because season 1 was an adaptation of the book The Killing Floor, where Neagley doesn't appear. But she is one of the very few characters that recur in the series. Normally, you move on to the next book. Other than Reacher, everybody is gone. So there was a good chance none of the cast was coming back. But we now know that Maria Sten, who played Neagley in the first season, will be back. Neagley. And so we know which book it's going to be, and at least one of his co-stars is returning. So, and that's supposed to be going into production now. Also, news from The Hollywood Reporter is that Marvel has inked a 20-year deal with Stanley Universe and their parent companies that will allow Lee's likeness to be used in any upcoming Marvel film or television project. Now, the contract also states that the creator's name and appearance can be utilized for Disney theme parks, various experiences, and merchandising. This likely means the return of the Stan Lee cameos to the MCU films and series. Now, Andy Hayward, who is the chairman and CEO of Genius Brands, they're one of the parent companies of Stan Lee Universe, said it really ensures that Stan, through digital technology and archival footage and other forms, will live in the most important venue, the Marvel movies and Disney theme parks. It's a broad deal. Now, until I saw that quote, I assumed we would get stuff like, Stan Lee's Delicatessen, and we'd have, like, in the Daredevil series, it's Stan Lee's photo is up in different places. But when they say digital technology and archival footage, now I'm thinking, are we going to get, like, CG Stan? Do we need CG Stan? I mean, I love seeing Stan cameo in these films, but he's gone now. And I know there's been a lot of people going, well, we need someone to kind of take that place. It should be this person, it should be that person. I'm okay if they want to put photos up of him and they want to put his name on things and just kind of tribute to him that way. Or flashbacks, but actually I'm hoping they don't do a digital version. I just don't think, what are they going to do? Get the comedian Marion to stand in and then just digitally enhance it like they do Luke Skywalker now? I don't think we need that. So, all right. Let's move on. We got a nice little tidbit from today's Disney upfronts. It seems that Loki is now considered Marvel's most watched series on Disney+. Now, according to Kevin Feige, he's the one that said that, but he also said that the whole cast is returning. Now, what does he mean by the whole cast? That could be Grand Moff Tarkin Stan Lee. Nice. It's Grand Moff Stan Lee. Yeah, I think Feige doing the cameos would be interesting. I like that idea. But speaking of Feige, so he said the whole cast is returning. Now, that's probably Tom Hiddleston, Owen Wilson, Sophia DiMartino, Gugu Mbatha Raw, and Wunmi Muaku. Those were the main characters. But, does that mean we're going to get Miss Minutes back? So Tara Strong's voice. Are we going to get Kang? Does Kang get dealt with here? Or does he get dealt with in Ant-Man and the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania? So do we get Jonathan Majors back? Also, what about some of the Loki variants? Richard E. Grant's character dies, but you can never count a Loki out. Jack Veal is Kid Loki. And what about the alligator? I think we all want the alligator back, don't we? And Tara Strong is one of the greatest actors of our time, and few people even know her name. I won't argue with that. Also, I think there would be a riot if they don't bring back Eugene Cordero as Casey. The man didn't know what a fish was, to be gutted like a fish. That was strong. That was strong acting on his part. I think we definitely need Casey back. So, all right. So that's just some of the news that hit today. One of the pieces of news from yesterday that still has been bouncing around my craw and bugs me is Kathleen Kennedy saying that Solo, a Star Wars story, taught Disney that they shouldn't replace their iconic characters with younger actors. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think the reason Solo didn't get the popularity that it should have, or, I don't think it was Aiden Einreich or Donald Glover. It wasn't them that caused the problem. I think that it needed a little bit better script, but there was some good stuff in it. I enjoyed it. If they would have just moved on and followed up with it, I think it would be a bit more popular. I think because it kind of got lingered out there and everybody went, oh, But Solo's not that bad, but they've been doing it successfully. Ewan McGregor is a younger version replacement of Alec Guinness. And if she's saying that, does that mean the upcoming Lando series is going to be Billy D. Williams instead of Donald Glover? I know there's a lot of dislike for Kathleen Kennedy out there. And I don't have a problem with her. But to me, that was not a good statement to make. So, yeah, there are better ways. Yeah, no. All right, guys, we're going to take an early break. And as soon as we come back, we will show and talk about the She-Hulk trailer that just popped. And then we'll talk about Clea. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Get the inside scoop on everything happening at the Experience every week. Join our mailing list by scanning the QR code at the bottom of the screen and then watching your email inbox.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit ComicShopLocator.com to find a store near you.
Comic Collectibles is a pretty straightforward show. You got Rex here, he sells the comics, and you got Rockin' Robbie, he knows about the comics. And finally, John, no one really knows what John does. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, but he just keeps showing up. Come to think of it, I don't even really know how he gets in here. Anyway, awesome comics, rare books, rarer signatures, slabbed books, and amazing cover sketches by Ken Hazer and others. Simple formula, you want the comics, you buy the comics. To sum up, Rex sells the comics, Robbie knows the comics, and John, who might possibly be a ghost. I mean, seriously, has anyone ever seen him show up or leave? Comic Collectibles with Rex and John, Mondays from 6 to 8 Eastern on The Experience. Comic Culture and Sales.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. We are going to look at the trailer for She-Hulk Attorney at Law. This is very much a Ally McBeal style show, something new for the MCU. Take a quick look at it. Now, the different color things, that's kind of interesting, but She-Hulk gets her powers when she gets shot. I'm wondering if the accident's kind of the replacement for that. Jennifer Walters is a lawyer, and she ends up having to head up the superhumans division of her law firm. That's what she's finding out here. Tim Roth, the original Abomination from the Incredible Hulk movie. And, of course, Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk. Yeah, see. Okay, that's a ridiculous outfit, which I think is great. Yeah. But his character has changed so much that regular Banner would never have done that, but Professor Hulk would. Now, I'm kind of mixed on the CGI here. Some of the shots look really good. Some of them are definitely Uncanny Valley. And I'm hoping that they're still working on the CGI, that it's going to get better as the series goes. The date, see, like right there. This is probably going to be the first Marvel series that sex is actually an important part of the series, because the character's always been that way. So, all right, things that I noticed in there, which I think are pretty important. There's a part where she points out her friends, and one of them is Josh Segura. And if you don't know who Josh Segura is, he was on Arrow as Adrian Chase / Prometheus. And if you don't watch Arrow and you're like, wait a minute, Adrian Chase is not Prometheus, they changed it up. They brought Vigilante in, and then they made Adrian Chase a different person. They made him Prometheus. It ended up working out okay, but I don't know why they did it. But I think it was a bait and switch to make people not, or to get people thrown off, thinking that he was actually a good guy, and he wasn't. So, Josh Segura. Also, Jamil is playing Titania. I'm never sure how they pronounce it. Titania is more of a Shakespearean way of pronouncing the name. Titania sounds more like something Marvel would use. There we go. There she is with Mark Ruffalo. And you probably recognize her from The Good Place. So she's coming in. Titania is probably the closest thing She-Hulk has to an arch enemy. You know? But this doesn't feel like it's going to be the same type of show as all the other Marvel stuff. This feels more like it's going to be a procedural. You know, that she's going to have cases to deal with, and maybe they run over to another episode, but they're not going to be, I don't think it's going to be the entire length, because at least it's not hinted at in here. But we see Titania. We see, I can't believe I'm going to say this, we see Frogman. Yes, the character of Frogman. Now, I haven't had a chance to refresh myself on Frogman, but what I do remember about the character, Frogman. Frogman was this low-level thief who had a frog costume with these really strong coil springs that allowed him to leap great distances. I wish I was making this up. But his son discovered, when his father passes, his son gets the costume and decides that he'd rather be a hero. So he's trying to basically clear the Frogman's name and, you know, become a hero. And he's been associated with She-Hulk through her law firm. Dan Slott did a great run on She-Hulk that focused more on her days as a lawyer and some of the cases she gets involved in. And that's where Frogman becomes a client, that type of stuff. We also get to see Tim Roth, which is kind of interesting because in the comics, Tim Roth plays Emil Blonsky, We met him for the first time in the Incredible Hulk movie with Ed Norton. He, of course, becomes the Abomination. Now, in the comics, the Abomination doesn't have the ability to revert back to human. But we're seeing that here. Now, it makes me wonder if that cell he's in has a way of negating his abilities and it turns him back to human, and then when he gets out, he goes back to being Abomination. We've also, the Abomination showed up in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings as the person Wong was fighting. So I find that kind of interesting. And you can see that they've modified the look. They've given him the more comic accurate head by, giving him ears. He didn't have ears in the Incredible Hulk movie. So they did a lot to improve that character. And again, how much is he going to play a part of it? Is he going to be like one episode? This is a 9-episode series, which again, that's only What If and WandaVision were that long, and both of them were half hour. So you can expect these to be half-hour shows. So go ahead and you can start your complaining now that the shows aren't long enough. Do you think they plan to make Wong so much cooler than Doctor Strange, or was that accidental? I think they're just accepting it because Wong is supposed to appear. Rumor is that he's going to appear in She-Hulk, possibly as a witness for Abomination, maybe. But yeah, so Wong is just, I think he's more accessible. He's kind of becoming the new phase 4 version of Agent Coulson. He's going to tie everything together. And he is the Sorcerer Supreme. He's much more badass. And it's great because in the comics, he was just a manservant. And that turned out to be rather racist and problematic. So I think Marvel has not only handled it well, but tapped into such a good actor that, they've got this great character that they can start dropping in anywhere, including Tide commercials. So let's see what else. I made a couple notes on the trailer. Yeah, I hit all the ones I wanted to, but so Titania, Abomination, Frogman. Some of the rumored ones that we're going to see, supposedly either Matt Murdock or Daredevil, Wong. For some reason, this feels like a series that Val could show up in. The Julia Louis-Dreyfus character. Maybe if she comes in to borrow Blonsky for a Thunderbolts team or something. I think there's a lot of speculation on this, and it could be very good. And I got to say, the trailer itself gets my attention, and I want to watch it. The CGI, though, there are some points that it's very weak. And I've been trying to figure out why I think that is. Now, it could easily be Abomination and Hulk have been used multiple times before, so they have those characters. They have the ability to do those characters pretty easily. They have all the computer programs and stuff. But maybe they don't have the right setting for She-Hulk yet. So I think that's a possibility that they're continuing to work on the CGI, trying to make it better. And you see that in some of the movie trailers that come out, where it's like, okay, that looks like crap. And then by the time it comes out, oh, that looks good. Yeah, it certainly gave me, JD says it gave him Alita Battle Angel flashbacks. I can totally see that. Yeah, some of the scenes, just when she's making big facial expressions and stuff, just doesn't work. So, also, she seems too smooth. And if you do a side-by-side of Ruffalo as the Hulk and Maslany as the She-Hulk, he's got wrinkles and pores and all of this stuff, and she is just smooth. There's nothing. It's like, it's like they haven't put the texturing in yet. So hopefully that's the case. It doesn't come out till the end of August. This is a little over the middle of May. So they still got June, July, almost 3 months. And Marvel tends to do things until the last minute, making things better. So I'm going to hold out hope that they're going to get the technology to make her look better. JD says, speaking of bad CGI, if you have a chance, watch the 2005 adaptation of Bradbury's short story, A Sound of Thunder. I don't think I've ever gone out seeking bad CGI. All right. So I'd love to hear what you guys think. Did the footage look good enough for you guys? Or do you think Marvel definitely needs to put more work in on the CGI? And is this the character you guys are looking forward to? And what about the style? I mean, they're doing basically a legal comedy a la Ally McBeal, That's the best way to describe it. We're going to deal with her romantic life, her getting the powers, her dealing with the law, legal problems. It really does seem like an Ally McBeal series. Robert Downey Jr. should show up because he was on Ally McBeal. I know, I'm old, and most of you guys probably don't even know who Ally McBeal is. It's Han Solo's wife. All right, guys. Let's shift gears real quick, and we're going to talk about that end credit scene in Doctor Strange. So before we do, just in case, let's do the spoiler roll. All right. We're not going to give very much about the ending because some of you may not seen it yet. So we're not going to talk about the movie or what happens or the Illuminati cameos or any of that. We'll save that for a little bit later. We'll do a show about it, but not yet. To me, the big key was the post-credit scene. Because this movie feels like it's there to move the MCU as a whole forward as much as it is Doctor Strange. Where I'm hoping that whatever they do for a third Doctor Strange movie, and if you have Benedict Cumberbatch and these movies do that well, you're going to do a third one, is going to focus back on him. That gets back to, maybe him finally taking the mantle of the Sorcerer Supreme. He's going to have to go up against Dormammu again. That just trapping him in a time loop, that can't be enough. I mean, that he got a similar deal in the comics, which we're going to talk about. And Dormammu found workarounds that he could still go after Strange, thinking that if Strange is killed, then the promise is done. So I think that final credit scene is important because it gives us an idea of where the character is going to go next. It also explains why they do this movie also kind of closes the door on Christine Palmer. And again, I won't say how. You can probably tell by the trailers if you've seen those. But Rachel McAdams' character, this looks like it's going to be kind of the end for her. I mean, there's a chance, but introducing Clea at the end. Clea has always been Doctor Strange's one true love. So bringing her in makes a lot of sense. And it brings a lot, it's almost Shakespearean. Clea is almost a Shakespearean character compared to Christine Palmer, which is more of just a typical type modern day drama type of thing. So, but I'm going to break down Clea. But let me say, in the scene, what happens is Doctor Strange is walking down the street, and a platinum blonde woman appears in front of him, says that he has created another incursion, and he has to come with her to save the galaxy or the reality or whatever. That character, of course, is Clea, and she's in her purple outfit. We've got a photo from that scene. JD working really quick. Find the photo. There we go. Now, hold that up there for a minute. She looks a lot like Clea from the comics, and if you can't tell, that is Charlize Theron. All right, so a great actress brought in to play this part, so you know Marvel's not going to just throw it away. On the other hand, that shirt on Benedict Cumberbatch looks horrible. And luckily, in like the next second or two in the scene, he puts on his costume. But yeah, whoever decided that's the shirt they should put him in, that was a bad call. But all right. So let's talk about Clea. Now, you may be seeing Clea in... Okay, we can ditch the picture. You may be seeing Clea nowadays in the comics because she's kind of come back to prominence. And we'll get... now, see, that's spoiler-ish because you see the third eye on the Doctor. I was trying to avoid that. But he is in his costume again, which shows that that shirt is fake. That means he magically created that ugly shirt. That's a bad use of magic. Just saying. All right. So, Clea. Clea is a fascinating character. Now, she first appeared relatively early in Doctor Strange's life. Now, while Strange first appeared in 1963 in Strange Tales number 110, she would show up almost a little over a year later in Strange Tales number 126, and it's a hugely important issue done by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. And I have to mention that a lot of Doctor Strange was Steve Ditko. Steve created the character, he plotted the character, he drew the pages, and he left notes for Stan to do dialogue. Where Spider-Man, it was a little more going back and forth on the plot. This was more Steve up front, but based a bit on Vincent Price, according to the internet. I've heard that. There was someone else that was also considered, but I don't remember who it was. But so the basic plot of the issue is Strange gets summoned by the Ancient One because there's this impending evil that's planning to attack the Earth. And the Ancient One's like, I do not have the ability to stop him. So why don't you go slow him down? He basically shoves him off into this other dimension in hopes of making him into a speed bump. Well, that dimension is the first time we see the dark dimension, and we know that's popping up all the time in comics. So Clea's first appearance was the first appearance of the dark dimension. Now, when he gets there, he starts traveling through and is Strange is seen by a young woman with platinum blonde hair. And I'm going to describe her that way for two reasons. One, because they never bothered to name her in her first appearance, or for a while. She was just this girl. And I say platinum blonde because that's usually what they mean when you see a character with white hair in the comics, a female character. I believe Black Cat is supposed to have platinum blonde hair, not white. So she's got this white hair, purple outfit, and she sees him and realizes that he's going to stop this impending evil, and she tries to stop him. Now, she doesn't try to stop him because of malice. She's not like rooting for the evil, though she does sort of worship the person, at least up until that point. But she doesn't want Strange to get hurt and thinks it's obvious that he does not have the power to stand up to this person. Now, while she wouldn't be named, the bad guy would. The evil force, Dormammu. All right, so now we've got Clea, Dormammu, and the Dark Dimension all introduced in one issue. Now, going from there, again, she wouldn't be named, but she does try to help Strange and then is captured by Dormammu, and Strange and Dormammu have to fight. And Strange, again, is no match for Dormammu's power, especially in the Dark Dimension. But he's at least able to cause Dormammu to expend a certain amount of energy, just enough energy that the defenses he uses to control another inhabitant, another group of inhabitants in the Dark Dimension, the mindless ones, he controls them, keeps them at bay with his powers. Well, he uses so much of his power to fight Doctor Strange that his defenses are weakened and the mindless ones start to attack. Strange sees what's happening and knew the woman explained what, the mindless ones and how horrible they are. So he actually steps in and helps Dormammu stop the mindless ones. Well, that puts Dormammu into Strange's debt, and he doesn't like that. So Strange gets him to promise not to invade Earth, to leave Earth alone, and to let both him and the girl go. Pretty straightforward. Similar to the ending of the Doctor Strange movie, where he gets Dormammu to promise not to invade Earth. Now, also, when you see Caecilius and the other of his cult at the end being sucked up into the Dark Dimension, if you look closely, you'll see they're being transformed into the mindless ones as they go. So we've had the mindless ones introduced. We've had Dormammu introduced and the Dark Dimension. Now we've got Clea. So that sounds like everything from this book has become important, but it's not done yet. Because after stopping Dormammu, Strange returns to Earth to the Ancient One, who's very pleased, and gives him 2 gifts. The Cloak of Levitation and the Eye of Agamotto. Yeah. So this one issue of Doctor Strange basically opened up a ton of Doctor Strange, the things that we know as Doctor Strange, the Dark Dimension, Dormammu, the Mindless Ones, Cloak of Levitation, the Eye of Agamotto, and the woman who would be Strange's love interest and eventual wife. All of that in like 20 pages. All right, so that's where we meet her, but who is Clea? Well, first she's part Faultine, which is a race of extra-dimensional energy beings made up of pure magic. This is the same race as her mother, Umar, and her uncle, Dormammu. Yep, they're related. Her father was Prince Arini, and he is the son of the last ruler of the Dark Dimension before Dormammu took over and killed him. And they're humanish looking, but they're a race of beings from the Dark Dimension. Now, her birth was rather traumatic for Umar. During the birthing process, while in labor, that's probably the better way to put it. I don't sound like an engineer trying to explain it. She loses her ability to revert to her true Faultine form And that is, of course, the form that Dormammu has. Not the flames. The flames are a sign of, it's like a crown. It's, you're basically in charge. But his size, doing the big floaty head thing, that's a Faultine. Again, they're extra-dimensional beings made up of pure magic. So now, she is left weakened by this because that's where she has most of her power. In her human form, she doesn't have as much power. And she's pretty devastated by this. And she decides to abandon her child, leaving her with her father, and go off and attack her brother to try to steal his power. And that went about as well as you would expect. Dormammu ends up casting her off into another dimension, which turns out to be a trend, by the way. He does love sending people off to other dimensions. Now, Clea was raised not knowing who her mother was, nor the truth about her lineage, that she's a Faultine. And she grew up worshiping Dormammu because that's what her father did. Dormammu was the leader, and they were worshipped. Now, after her encounter with Strange, she kind of continued to watch him from afar. Creepy, yes. And when Dormammu used Baron Mordo as kind of a henchman, since he couldn't directly attack Earth, he would make a deal with Baron Mordo to help kill Doctor Strange, because he figures if Mordo kills Strange, then the whole promise becomes null and void, and Dormammu can attack the Earth. So he has Mordo attack Strange. Clea ends up helping him from afar. And in doing so, though, Dormammu sees this betrayal, as he calls it, and imprisons her in, you guessed it, another dimension. Yes. Now, Strange would eventually, what he did was he actually made Strange watch him do this. So Strange knew that she was somewhere out there. So Strange would eventually find her, and Dormammu would be defeated, but this time with the help of Eternity. And I'm not getting into explaining Eternity. He's a big guy with like the entire galaxy as his wardrobe. Think of it like the Space Pants video from Saturday Night Live, but all of them. Now, Strange. So with that defeat, there was no ruler for the Dark Dimension. Now, and Dormammu's defeat also released Umar, who decided to go after Strange using her daughter as bait, and trapped her in another dimension. This is the equivalent of Lois Lane. That's basically how they used this character, who is an incredibly powerful sorceress. Especially in the Dark Dimension, they just keep tossing her into other dimensions and making Stephen Strange find her. And like I said, this definitely becomes a trend. And Stephen is able to find her and save her and defeat Umar. You'll love this. But the Ancient One comes to Stephen and says, the only way Clea is going to be safe if you stash her away in another dimension. Everybody's doing it. Just put her in another dimension. Of course, in this new plane that he puts her in, she comes across Dormammu, and then Strange has to rescue her and defeat Dormammu again. And finally, he decides on his own. Now, he's the Sorcerer Supreme at this point. This is after the Ancient One has died. He's become Sorcerer Supreme. He decides that the only place that she's going to be safe is with him. So he brings her to Earth. He gets her an apartment. He starts training her as an apprentice, because when she comes to Earth, she doesn't have the magical powers she has in the Dark Dimension. So, and of course, while all this is happening, they grow romantically close, which was bound to happen. And during this time, she would end up working with, not only going on a bunch of adventures with Doctor Strange, but she would work with the Defenders at some points, also Spider-Man. And she would go up against her. One really big story arc was a villain named Silver Dagger, who ended up corrupting her soul and turning her into an energy creature with immense magical power, which is, no surprise because that's kind of what she is anyway, and uses her to attack Strange. And of course, Strange was able to save her. Now, I'm going to pause here for a minute. We're going to take our last break, and then we will get back into the deep dive on Clea. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Thanks for tuning into The Experience. Help us out and hit subscribe over on YouTube and click the bell when you do. Need some help? Scan the QR code in the bottom corner.
Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
Are you a comic creator? Are you a publisher? Do you make a comic book product? Do you own a retail store? Do you do something I haven't thought of? Who are you and what do you do? Let us know by advertising on The Experience and invite our viewers to patronize your product. Message the EXP on social media or email us the_EXP@yahoo.com for more details.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. All right, Josh says, congrats on the promotion. Time to set your head on fire. That's exactly why I left the programming world. Didn't want to buy new pillows. All right, so Clea. So after the whole Silver Daggle thing, Clea realized that her love for Steven was stronger than his for her. And Steven was always kind of keeping arm's distance. And, she discovers that her people want her to come back and lead a rebellion against Umar. So she decides to, she's like, we're obviously not going anywhere. I've resigned my apprenticeship. She heads home, leads the rebels to attempt to dethrone Umar. And that's when she finds out that Umar is her mother and that her father is a prisoner, and then discovers that her father actually thinks Umar is good still. So you're going to love this. Clea ends up banishing Umar and her father to another dimension. And she becomes ruler of the Dark Dimension. Flame hair. You can see some of the images of her out there. She's got flaming hair. She and Strange would run into each other again shortly after. And Steven confessed that at that point, he no longer wanted to live without love, that he wanted to have that balance in his life. And they were married in a magical way, sort of. They couldn't get married legally because, of her being from another dimension. So instead of starting to they started wearing a ring that was magically 2 rings. It's like each one of them wore the ring at the same time, and because it was really one, they were bonded, but it was on 2 different fingers. I don't know. I don't know how that works. Are dimensions the same thing as alternate universes in the Marvel Universe? No. Dimensions exist within a single reality. So, well, I don't know now that I think about it, because the Ancient One in the movies tapped into the dark dimension for her powers, so that had that. But is that the same dark dimension, or is that the 616 dark dimension? Now I actually can't give you a direct answer on that one. I will look into it and see if I can figure it out. She and Strange would run each. That I was saying that, but the problem is that it was basically a long distance relationship. She was still in the dark dimension. He was still on Earth. They would get together occasionally, but as those kind of relationships do, it started to fall apart. She caught Steven cheating once, and even though she forgave him, they kind of took it back to being just friends. Maybe the dimensions are beyond the physical universe. That is possible. Until Marvel actually comes out and says one way or the other, and I don't think they have yet. But like I said, I will look into it and see what I can find. Then something happened that you guys know Spider-Man One More Day, right? Where he trades Mephisto for bringing back Aunt May to life. He gave up his marriage to Mary Jane. Well, a similar thing happens to Mephisto, and we know everybody loved One More Day, so sure, let's do it with Doctor Strange. And he needs Mephisto's help to save reality, and Mephisto's cost is that he has to give up Clea and all her memories of him and stuff, which makes me wonder who hurt Mephisto. Why is this guy coming up with these deals all the time? Did he get jilted by someone? There's a story there we need to know. But anyway, so she forgets him, and the stupid thing is he actually goes to her before it takes effect and says, is there any chance you and I could ever get back together? And he expects her to say no, and then he's fine with it. And instead she says yes. And he was like, oh no, and then she forgets him. So, but we move a little bit more to the modern day. And recently, in the death of Doctor Strange, no surprise, Strange dies. But he does this Harry Potter Horcrux thing, and he leaves a version of himself, a chunk of his life he left saved. Then that could actually help. And Clea, when he dies, all his deals are null and void. Clea suddenly remembers everything. And Clea ends up teaming up with the younger version of Strange to capture his murderer. And in doing so, Strange gets a chance to say goodbye, tells her that he loves her and all that, and leaves Clea the Cloak of Levitation and the Eye of Agamotto. And, basically saying there's no one else he trusts. Which, again, Wong must be going what? And at this point in the comics, she's now the Sorcerer Supreme as Strange is dead. Which is weird that every time they come up with... They keep killing characters that are about to be in major movies. I don't know why the comics are doing that. You think they would kind of suss it out a bit? But so, the fact that they got Charlize Theron to play Clea means, A, they have plans. They're definitely going to use her. You don't get an Oscar-winning actress to enter in as a cameo. You get, you got plans for her, and it's great casting, by the way. I think she's exactly perfect. Now, bringing Clea into the MCU means that there's a good chance we're going to go back to Dormammu in the third movie, or I could see him using Mordo from in the comics is what he normally does, but this Mordo is so against the use of magic and stuff that I'm not sure how they'd make that work. But I think he'll have to have a foil and then draw him into the dark dimension, Or we could end up with an entire movie that takes place in the dark dimension. And what we saw, the blacklight poster version that we saw in the Doctor Strange movie, isn't all that the dark dimension is. There's, people that live there. There's societies and stuff like that. So it's more than just, him landing on a giant boulder and going, Dormammu, I've come to bargain. There's more to it than that. And it would have a chance to, again, address Dormammu. You could bring in Umar. You could bring in the mindless ones. There's a lot of neat stuff that could be, addressed in a movie that way. And it, like I said, it also explains the reason they're kind of closing the door on Christine Palmer is because they want to build this relationship with Charlize Theron. And you've got Cumberbatch and Theron are like right at the same age range. And it just really clicks. And I think she's a really strong actress and can stand easily with him. So JD says he could discover a spell that makes his American accent listenable. Who knows what might happen? I don't think Cumberbatch will ever do a better accent as long as Oscar Isaac gets away with doing the Stephen Grant accent. It's kind of like, nope, there's no rules anymore. We're just in chaos for him. He could come in and do Southern now. Doesn't he do Southern in Power of the Dog? I don't know. But so that's Clea. I think she's going to be huge in whatever third movie they do. And I can't see them not doing a third movie. Trilogies are kind of the thing. You've got an actor like Benedict Cumberbatch. You can bring in Charlize Theron. You got Benedict Wong. You could bring back Chiwetel Ejiofor. Chiwetel. So you got a lot of really good actors you can bring this back in. But yeah, in the comics, Nicodemus, the other doctor that worked on Strange's hands, is a practitioner of magic as well. So Josh says, I do appreciate that they didn't cast a creepily younger female actress for coming. Yeah, they do that a lot. The ages just don't match. Even you look at, there's a big age difference between May Calloway and Oscar Isaac. It was like, it's a little much. Then again, you could say, oh, the snap took away 5 years, He got snapped and she didn't, so that's why he's now 5 extra years old. But yeah, I'm glad that they're casting similar age, similar acting ability, similar to star level. So, all right, guys, that's going to wrap that up. Thanks for tuning in. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons for me. Do that before you head out and share the links to this. I want to grow this community, get more people talking during the show, make it more of an interactive process. So you can help out by that, by not only participating, but helping spread the word about the show. Coming up next, Rex and John and Comics Collectibles. They've got some really cool stuff, some commissioned cover art by Brian Kong and Ken Hazer. They've got books signed by John Romita Jr., Tom King, Scott Snyder. It's going to be a great show. So stick around for that. I will be back tomorrow with my guest, Anita Parrish, talking about her new horror anthology over at American Mythology. So have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow.
There's a super new way to support your friends over at The Experience. Head over to YouTube and send us a super chat, a super sticker, or a super thanks. We'll be super grateful for your support. And then keep an eye out as we launch membership services over on YouTube. It'll be a great way to get first look access at new content and shows before anybody else.